Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the virtual tour of the Prince George's County Single Stream Materials Recycling Facility. I'm Martha Ainsworth, and chair of the Maryland's Sierra Club Zero Waste team and the lead volunteer on Zero Waste for the Prince George's Sierra Club. At this webinar with 3 distinguished panelists, you'll learn about how a single stream recycling facility functions, what's accepted for recycling at the Prince George's facility in Capitol Heights, the problem of contamination of the recycling system, its impact on the machinery and the value of the recycled material, the expected benefits of the optical sorter that's on its way to the facility, and an update on what's happening to the markets for recycled materials. We have an audience from Prince George's County, but from many other counties in Maryland as well. I want to caution you that what is accepted or what is recycled can vary depending on where you live. For this tour, we'll be talking about what's accepted at the facility in Prince George's County, which may or may not be the same as where you live. However, the operation of the single stream recycling facility and the presentation on recycling markets are more generalizable. We're so pleased that you can join us today. A special welcome to County Council Member Rodney Streeter, representing Prince George's County District 7. So before introducing the 3 panelists, I'd like to go over a few logistical issues. Because of the large number of attendees, we will be muted during the presentations, but questions will be taken at the end. You don't have to wait to the end of the presentations, however, to type in a question using the Q&A function on your screen. Indicate the question and the speaker to which it's addressed. And please use the Q&A function for questions. The chat is for comments, not for questions, and we will not be monitoring the chat for questions. If you have an item that you brought with you that you need to show the panelists, mention this in your question and we'll invite you to activate your video. At the end of the presentations, we'll read off the questions in order, unless they've already been asked. If you brought something, okay, so I already told you that. So now I'm very pleased to introduce our 3 panelists. First, we have Desmond Gladden. Desmond, will you activate your video? Good.
Good morning.
Desmond's a senior planner with the Department of the Environment in the recycling section of the Resource Recovery Division. And he oversees the materials recycling facility and manages several other environmental programs. Then I'm going to introduce Sean Ryan. Sean, you can say hello. Sean has worked for the Maryland Environmental Service for 9 years in the Environmental Operations Group. He started out as the operations manager of the Green Waste Recycling Lot in Durwood, Maryland. And then he moved to the Recycling Center in Durwood and finally to the Prince George's County Materials Recycling Facility, where he's worked for 3 years. Melissa Filiaggi is our 3rd panelist. Melissa, you can show your video. She has over 7 years of experience working in the solid waste industry. Her experience includes the development and marketing of recycling programs, solid waste planning, facility permitting and compliance, and project development. In her current position, she oversees the marketing of compost products and recovered material sales for several of the largest facilities in Maryland. In addition, she has overall responsibility for the management of the Prince George's County Organics Compost Facility and the Prince George's County Single Stream Materials Recycling Facility. She holds a master's and bachelor's degrees in biology from Towson University. And in 2019, she was selected as a Waste 360 40 Under 40 Award recipient and is the current president of the Maryland Recycling Network. I'd also like to mention we have with us Gary Young, our indispensable technical support from the Maryland Sierra Club chapter, who's going to make this webinar run smoothly. So let's just then turn to the first speaker, Desmond Gladden of the Department of Environment. Desmond, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone again from the Sierra Club and other distinguished guests, including our Councilman Screeder, District number 7. Welcome to the Prince George's County's Materials Recycling Facility. We are located at 1000 Ritchie Road in Capitol Heights, Maryland. Today, I'm going to cover 3 different areas. I'm going to give you some outline, background information about our facility. I'm going to tell you the acceptable and unacceptable items that we receive here at our materials recycling facility. I'm going to touch on some contamination issues. And finally, we just produced a new MRF video. It's going to show you that MRF video. Just to give you some background information about the MRF. The MRF opened up in October of 1996. We currently process on a daily basis anywhere from 250 to 300 tons of material. That equates to about 5,800 tons of material per month. And last year we processed over 70,000 tons of material. This facility is a single stream facility. All the material that comes to this facility can be mixed in together. And the main purpose of this facility is to source separate the recyclables by type. We then build those materials and send them to end users so that new commodities can be made. Gary, could you start my video, please? PowerPoint. Okay, again, I'm with the Department of Environment Resource Recovery Division. Next slide, please. Our MRF consists of the Prince George's County government, which owns the facility. Maryland Environmental Service operates the facility on behalf of the county, and CMT provides the laborers for the facility. Next slide. Just a little about the county's program. Prince George's County's recycling program has provided curbside recycling for over 28 years. We've collected at over 1.7 million tons of recyclables during that period. Again, the county owns the facility and it's contracted by Maryland Environmental Services to operate the facility. Next slide, please. What you see now is a list of all of our acceptable materials that we process here in Prince George's County. Just to reiterate again what Martha said, I know a number of listeners are on from other jurisdictions, but I will be speaking specifically of the items that we process here in Prince George's County. The list covers your all the basics that we recycle here at the facility. Cans and aluminum, foil, steel cans, cardboard and sorted papers, glass bottles, and plastic bottles. All of these items must be clean and unsoiled and empty. I'm just going to go over briefly all of the specifics that we recycle here at the MRF. Next slide, please. Again, those plastics. All plastics are acceptable that are narrow neck and has a resin code of 1 through 7. These are the plastic categories. Only categories that we do not accept here at the facility are number 4s and number 6s. So if it's any plastic container that you have that has a designator of 1, 2, 3, 5, or 7 on it, it can be recycled in the county's recycling program. Items that are not recycled are number 4 and 6s, excuse me. Number 4 is the plastic bags. A while back, we eliminated plastic bags from our program because it was causing problems with the equipment here. And we were also having problems in marketing the material. Number 6s are your polystyrene. They're not accepted. Those are the red cups. Next slide, please. Even though the plastic bags are not acceptable in the county's curbside program, those items are still recyclable. And this is just a list of where all plastic bags can be recycled at. your Giant, Target, Safeway, and Wegmans. Take those items to those supermarkets and they recycle those plastic bags. Just going to give you some byproducts of plastics. Once the plastics have been baled and sent to end users, they can be turned into carpeting, uh, fleece shirts. So there's a number of different items that plastics are turned into after they have been recycled and sent to the end users. Next slide, please. Next item would be glass. We accept any clean bottles, narrow neck, or jars at this facility. We just ask that the resident empty all of the content out of it and place it inside our recycling container. Doesn't matter if these items are broken, because at some point they're going to be broken anyway, whether it's transported by being transported in the truck or when they come to this facility. A byproduct of glass is usually recycled glass is used for road materials, daily cover, and I've seen some towels, kitchen towels are made out of recycled glass. Some of the beneficial uses of recycled glass. Next slide, please. Aluminum is our next commodity that can be recycled. There's something about the aluminum can that's interesting. The aluminum can is the fastest recycled item that we get in here at the facility. It can be recycled and back on the shelf within 60 days after placing it inside of your recycling container. And with the aluminum cans, they can be turned into bicycle parts and generally more aluminum cans. That's a byproduct. Next slide, please. Next item that is recyclable within the county's program is tin cans and aerosol cans. You can recycle your clean tin cans. We do ask that you rinse the cans out prior to putting them inside of your recycling container. Doesn't matter if the label is included on the can. You don't have to take the labels off. Tops are recyclable also. For aerosol cans, we ask that please just empty all of the content out prior to putting it inside of your recycling container. Usually metal cans are turned into new cans, appliances, car parts, bike parts, and steel beams. Next slide, please. Next are our paper products. There's a number of different paper products that can be recycled, including orange juice containers, newspapers, hardback books, cereal boxes, softback books. They all can be recycled. Just place them loosely inside of your recycling container. Next slide, please. And finally, cardboard is the last item that can be recycled, here at the materials recycling facility. This is the time of the year that you're getting a lot of big flat screen TVs or boxes for during the holidays. We ask that residents please flatten those boxes and place them beside your bin if they're too large to go inside of the bin. As you can see, the box that's underneath, white box, is a pizza box. Pizza boxes can be recycled here within the county, as long as they're not heavily soiled. There's no grease on the bottom of that container. One alternative is to, if the bottom of the box is heavily soiled, tear off that portion of the box and place the clean portion inside of your recycling container. Okay, and that covers all the items that are acceptable here within the county. It's having major issues, especially during these times, with some items that contaminate our screen. Next slide, please. This is just a list of some of the items, a few other items that should not be placed inside of your recycling container. One important point also is plastic bags. You shouldn't use plastic bags to place your recyclables inside of the cart. No plastic bags are acceptable within the county's programs. We do not accept diapers, plastic bags, auto parts, electronics. Batteries are another big issue here at the facility. Cell phone batteries or batteries for toys, they're major hazards, cause fires, and have caused fires at many MRFs around. We do not accept any food content, chip bags, cereal, pasta bags. Hoses are another big contaminant we receive here. Robes, face masks. It's real important during these times. We're going through an epidemic. Please, please, please do not try to recycle any face masks. Wire and plastic clothes, hangers, or tissues are not acceptable within the county's program. Just remember, when in doubt, leave these materials out. Next slide, please. These are just some examples of the recycling containers that are contaminated. Pictures of contaminants, items that we do not accept within our program. As you can see at the top left-hand corner, it's all plastic bags. Second one has clothing in it. Third is a black bag. The fourth bin has even a grill in it. It's definitely not accepted within the county's programs. It's hangers here, carpeting, and other plastic bags. Please remember to leave these items out. It causes major problems within the county's recycling stream when items that shouldn't go in are included. Next slide, please. Our contact information, if you have any question concerning the county's recycling program, we're with the Resource Recovery Division Recycling Section. We're located at 9200 Basil Court. Telephone number 883-3635, and we do have a link online where this list is composed. So one thing we're really excited about, we just produced a new MRF video. Even though you're not able to be here, we're going to show you the operations of this video. Prompted it up, and next we're going to show you a MRF video. It's a very short video of this facility. Thank you.
In Prince George's County, we make things happen. Every person who lives, works, or plays in Prince George's County can help improve our community and our environment by participating in the county's recycling program. Recycling saves landfill space, creates jobs, and saves money by putting perfectly good materials back into circulation, saving natural resources, and reducing the cost of manufacturing new products. In the United States, each person generates an average of 4.5 pounds of garbage each day. For Prince George's County, with a population of about 900,000, that equals 3.6 million pounds of garbage per day, over 13 million pounds per year. Prince George's County is committed to reducing, diverting, and recycling as much material from the waste stream as possible. Our goal is to strive for zero waste. That requires everyone's participation. Here's how you can help. Step 1. Properly separate your recyclable materials. Acceptable recyclables include newspaper, cardboard, other paper, aluminum, glass, plastic containers, and steel cans. A full list of acceptable recyclables can be found on the county's website. If it's not on the list, it should not be placed in your cart or bin. Step 2. Collection. Prince George's County provides curbside recyclables collection, separate from trash collection. This convenient program, called Single Stream Recycling, allows residents to place all acceptable recyclables in their cart or bin county-provided receptacle for collection on their regularly scheduled day. Step 3. Separation. You've done your part, now we do ours. Recyclables from your bin need to be separated and sorted so that the different types of materials can be marketed and used for manufacturers to create new products that find their way back onto store shelves. This separation is accomplished at the Prince George's County Material Recycling Facility, located in Capitol Heights, Maryland.
Welcome to Prince George's County Materials Recycling Facility. My name is Alexis, and I'll be giving you your tour today.
Material Recycling Facility, or the MRF, is to sort, bale, and market the recyclable materials that come from your recycling receptacles and remove any unacceptable materials that are mistakenly included. The MRF is equipped with advanced equipment that processes mixed recyclables into individual streams of cardboard, mixed paper, aluminum, glass, mixed plastics, and metal. Since November 2015, Prince George's County has contracted with the Maryland Environmental Service to run the day-to-day operations of the facility and manage the sale and distribution of the materials generated. Materials delivered to the MRF are weighed and recorded according to where they were collected. Collection trucks enter the facility and empty their recyclables onto the tipping floor. Once the recyclables are unloaded, processing begins. First, the mixed recyclables are pushed onto the conveyor and transported to areas where workers remove non-recyclable materials. This includes large objects and plastic bags. Plastic bags are not accepted for recycling. Please do not bag your recyclables. The mixture of paper and other containers continue through the facility to separation machines called star screens. These screens carry flat materials like cardboard over the top of the stars, while the containers fall between the stars onto another conveyor. The cardboard removed by this screen is sent to a storage area for baling. The paper and containers that have fallen between the stars is sent to what is called the combination screen. This machinery separates paper materials from all other containers. The first section of this screen removes most of the mixed paper. Clean, recyclable paper is stored in bunkers beneath the sorting lines. Once full, materials are fed by conveyor to a baler. A baler compresses material into big rectangular blocks and binds them with wire so they hold together while being stored or transported. Another set of star screens sort out any remaining paper, and the containers continue to be processed. The next step is to have a magnet remove just the steel cans from the container line. Then, the remaining containers are fed into another machine that breaks and removes the glass shards. The glass is transferred by conveyor to an outside storage area. Now, what's left on the container line is primarily plastic containers and aluminum cans. So the line is then directed across a magnetic field known as an eddy current, which propels only the aluminum cans into a storage bunker for baling. The remaining containers are then conveyed through a high-tech system that uses advanced optical sorting technology to identify acceptable plastics. These plastics are directed into a bunker and later made into bales. The stored bales are marketed to manufacturers that make new products from the materials. Recycling works in Prince George's County because everyone does their part. At home, school, work, or on the go. Recycling is easy. We're counting on you to recycle right. For additional information, please call 301-883-3635 or visit the county's website at princegeorgescounty.md.gov/532/recycling.
Thanks very much, Desmond. Now we're going to hear from Sean Bryan, who's the Senior Operations Manager, Maryland Environmental Services. Sean, you could unmute yourself and activate your video. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am the operations manager here at the Prince George's County Recycling Center. We process the materials that are taken in by the curbside collection and separate them into their constituent parts, as you saw in the video. We have a very specific special job that helps the environment for the recyclable materials. To talk about the recyclable materials a little bit, I'd also like to talk about the contamination of the materials. We depend on you to make sure that the proper items end up in your recycling bin. We do have an example of what happens when the improper items are put in the recycling bins, and when you see that, I'll explain how it affects us. We have a slide prepared for that. If you could show the slide. So here, what you're seeing is one of our recycling screens that you saw in the video. This screen is designed to separate paper from the containers and other items in the stream. The photograph on the left is what happens when you place rope or cords or cables and plastic film in your recycling bin. If you look at the picture closely, it shows where all the space in the screen is taken up by those types of items like the plastic bags and the rope. That prevents the screen from being able to sort the materials. What the screen should look like is the photograph on the right. That is the best case scenario, so that way the screen can separate all the materials like it's designed to do. To get the screen from what you see on the left to what you see on the right, as you see on the wording above, we have screen cleaners that come in the evening, and they work 8 hours or so after every shift, after every day we work, to clean the material from the screens. So that's why it's extremely important for us and for you all to be able to put the correct materials in the recycling bin, so that way the screens can do their job. If they can't do their job, the materials are contaminated, and it results in a not so nice product to be able to market. And we want to be able to market the materials as best we can.
John, anything else to add?
Just that, thank you for looking at our slideshow today. Also, if you live in the county, on your recycling bin, there is, in addition to watching the video, there is a label on top of your recycling can that shows what can and can't go in the recycle stream.
Good point. Thank you very much. Okay, let's now move to Melissa Filiaggi. Melissa, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Marcia. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the commodity markets for recycling. So the entire idea of recycling is premised on the idea that you're making a raw material. This is a source material for something else. So when we're recycling, what we're really trying to do is build a standard universal material that can then be purchased by a manufacturer and turned into something else. So I'm going to show a little bit of information here about what the markets look like. Let's see. Okay. So as we said, really the goal of the MRF is to take a mixed stream and sort it into unified raw materials that meet industry standards. And we make 7 different primary products at this facility right now. So we make a paper bale, cardboard bale, an aluminum can bale, steel can bale, a mixed plastic bale of 1 through 7 materials, a rigid plastics, which are like your bulky trash cans, those kind of items, laundry baskets, bale, and then the glass materials. So the goal of the facility is to separate these materials and get them in their correct place. If an aluminum can ends up in a paper bale, the aluminum can does not get recycled. The paper buyers consider that contamination. So it's very, very important that we're able to move these things into the right location. It's also very important that we only process and we only take in the material that can be processed by our end users. So if our markets, our mills cannot process a particular material, if that ends up in our bales, they consider that contamination. About 70% by volume of material processed at any MRF is paper and cardboard. That's by far the heaviest amount of material that comes through the facility. These are where they go. So generally, when we're producing an aluminum bale, it's sent for smelting and remanufacturing into new aluminum products. Aluminum is infinitely recyclable, and it has a pretty quick turnaround time. In some cases, these containers can be back on the shelf full of another kind of beverage within 90 days. Steel goes to new steel products. Cardboard and mixed paper goes to a lot of retail and industrial packaging. HDPE natural, which are like your milk jugs, go into new bottles and jugs. And then color, HDPE colors, like your laundry detergent jugs, things that are brightly colored, those oranges and the greens. They tend to go into things like drainage pipe, nursery pots, things that are dyed darker. PET goes into clothing and carpet. Polypropylene go into paint buckets, crates, and plastic sacking. So these commodity bales, again, these are resources that have to meet certain standards so that our buyers can purchase them, put them through their mills, and then create new items for them. So just to give you an idea of what the pricing looks like, this is an indication of what the market for the material is. And obviously it has an impact on each of the facilities. Most of you have probably heard of the Chinese import ban on various recycling. So these are market indices. They're not attached to any specific MRF. They're reflective of the Northeast region of the country, but no specific facility. The red line on the top is the cardboard pricing, and the blue line on the bottom is the paper pricing. So right where this black line is, this is where the Chinese government decided to stop importing material. At that point, they were taking about 40% of the world's paper supply. So within 3 months, all of that material had to find somewhere else to go. So that has been a particular challenge for the markets over the past couple of years, because again, 70% of the material that we process by weight is fiber. So these swings have major impacts on all of the facilities. So fortunately, we've had some uptake. Here you can see at the end, beginning about March of 2020, which coincides right around the advent of the coronavirus. There have been a couple of things that have been going on. The demand for paper products has been very high. In addition, there have been a number of new mills coming on board in the United States because of this China closing out their markets. There's been a lot of demand for mills to be built and for virgin fiber mills to be converted to processed recycled fiber. And then that material is exported as a pulp product to China. So we've seen a lot of those come on board too, which is starting to move our fiber pricing back up to something that's a little bit more normal. Specifically for this year, again, these are regional prices. The cardboard's in blue and the paper is there at the bottom in green. Our cardboard prices have been holding steady. There's been a pretty consistent market demand for that. And the paper prices have gradually been climbing, which is good. The more market options we have, the better, because again, with no market, an item isn't recyclable. Even if you could make something out of it, if no one is doing that, it's not a recyclable item. So having strong markets is really important for our commodities. Our plastics, right now at the Prince George's County facility, we make a 1 through 7 bale, which means all of the acceptable numbers of plastics go into one bale. That bale then has to be further processed by another facility to separate the PET to go to their end market and the HDPE to go to separate end market. So we're in the process of upgrading the facility to be able to do that ourselves, to be able to capture some of that additional value and make a more marketable commodity, send it to these different locations. These regional pricing gives you an idea of what this looks like. The really interesting thing here is the difference between HDPE natural here in the green line and HDPE color in the blue line. So this is the same resin. The natural is undyed and the color is dyed. And you can see that there's a significant difference, hundreds of dollars per ton difference in dyed material versus undyed material. So consumer choice can drive a lot of these things. The dyed material, the HDPE color, your Tide, laundry detergent containers, things like that, those are marketing choices that companies make to help their products stand out. But it dramatically decreases the value of that material as an end use because you can't turn it back into a natural color. So being able to think about things like that as a consumer, purchasing something in a more natural plastic container gives us a better value, and that has more options, more market options than a color container. Metal prices have been fairly steady. Steel has been particularly steady, and aluminum is climbing back up. It's been an interesting thing in the market that our HDPE natural pricing has actually been higher than the aluminum pricing for the past year or so, which is certainly unusual, but is definitely interesting. So overall, gives you a general idea of what what we're making and why we're making those bales. So again, the thing to think about with when you're wondering about recycling something is we're trying to make the cleanest bale possible of our raw materials. So you can really help us by only putting in the things that are listed or clear. If you, as Desmond said, if you're in doubt, leave it out, because the cleaner these bales are, the better off we are. If you're a steel can buyer and there are hangers and other types of metals in there, that buyer, their mill cannot process that material. It would have to go to a different. So that's considered contamination. So we're really trying to meet specific specifications for each individual product so that it can move directly into the market and then be converted into another product as efficiently as possible. All right, and thank you.
Thanks to all of you. Very interesting information, and we do have questions queued up. Let me start with those questions. One of the questions that always comes up in the MRF, and Desmond, I think this one's for you, is what to do with the bottle caps on the plastic bottles. We also have a question about caps on the glass bottles. Can you unmute?
Yes, the caps on the bottles can be left, plastic bottles can be left intact. More than likely, the item will be recycled with the plastic bottle cap. With the glass, in respect to the metal that's on the glass containers, it's best to take those off if possible.
Okay, and maybe I'll follow up with a question of my own. Is it worth putting small items in your recycling bin? Or will they just be discarded and lost?
I'll refer to Sean with that. I would say you should not go into the recycling container, very small items, because in the process, it's going to be discarded and lost.
Yeah, Sean, can you answer that question?
Yes, I can. Our equipment is fairly size specific. It uses the 2x2 rule, meaning it will not sort or collect anything smaller than 2 inches by 2 inches, and it will not sort or collect anything larger than 2 feet by 2 feet. So if it fits within that measurement, yes, it can go in the recycling container as long as it's a recyclable commodity.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Stephen Warenberg. What percentage of what is accepted at the MRF ends up at the landfill? Who can answer that?
I can answer.
Currently, at the time, it's between. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. Our residue, if I'm pretty sure that's what the question is asking, the residue range is between 20 and 30% of the material that comes in, which is not recyclable.
And
Okay.
that's based, you'll find that at most MRFs, with the expansion in types of packaging and wish cycling, when people are putting materials in the hopes that it gets recyclable, the average contamination at MRFs across the country is usually around 25%, which is a significant issue in cost, because you're really just drastically increasing the cost of that material that will generally end up in disposal anyway by hoping that it'll get recycled.
Great, thank you. And a follow-on question for that. Have you noticed a reduction at all in the amount of styrofoam you're getting since Prince George's styrofoam food container ban went into effect in 2016? Sean?
Yes, we do get a significantly amount of styrofoam less than we used to get. I started here around that time, and from then to now, our volume of styrofoam has decreased significantly, yes.
Okay, thank you. Carol Alum asks, what percentage of what is collected is actually recycled? And I think she means taking into account not only what ends up in the landfill, but when it even the stuff you send in bales, what percentage of that totally do you think is actually recycled?
The things that we sell in bales should be 100%, because again, these are raw materials that people are purchasing for use. And believe me, they tell us if there's contamination in those bales. We hear about it.
Okay. Clarissa asks, could she place her plastic bags inside a milk jug container? Will that be recycled? Okay, I see 3 shaking heads.
No, they will
Clarissa,
not,
that's your
unfortunately.
answer.
No, because again, we're trying to sort things by individual commodity. So those, as Desmond showed earlier, a plastic bag is a low density polyethylene product. A milk container is a high density polyethylene product. So those have different end uses. They go to different places. That's another general rule about recycling is heavily mixed materials, something that, let's say you have a toy. We get a lot of kids' toys. That's a mix of plastic and metal. That's not a recyclable item because it can't go to metal, it can't go to plastic. So we don't want to be mixing things like that because they won't be separated and it'll reflect as contamination.
That was a great question.
Yeah, that was a great set. Related to that on the plastic bags, I mean, just so the folks know, these 3 gave us an in-person tour in March, just before everybody had to go into lockdown for COVID. And a lot of plastic bags with recyclables in them still come to the MRF. And Sean, I wanted to get your observation on what happens when, despite all the lecturing I give my neighbors, they still put their recyclables in a plastic bag in that container. What happens when it gets on the conveyor belt? Is it recycled or is it tossed?
So the majority of it is pulled off because the machinery will not open the plastic bag as it goes through the process, and it will be pulled off as contamination. So best case scenario is please do not put your recyclables in a plastic bag. A paper bag, that's okay, but not a plastic bag.
Okay, so that the recycles that are discarded in a plastic bag, because they probably look like trash, right?
That is correct.
Right, and that would be part of the 20 to 30% that Melissa's talking about that doesn't get recycled.
Yes.
Okay. So I have a question here from Lily. Can plasticized paper or cardboard be recycled?
Yes, it can. Yes.
Okay. Can metal cans with a white lining
That's also
be
a
recycled? They can. Okay. Go ahead.
Each company, so in these international commodity standards, there's a certain level of what you would call expected contamination with a product. So for example, something like a PET water bottle, the buyers are expecting for them to have the wrapper on it. A steel can, they're expecting to process the liner and the paper wrapper around that. So however you're buying your product, that tends to be an expected item that the buyers process. The problem comes in is when you have something that's outside of that, your hanger, a tennis shoe, a baby diaper, something like that in the material.
Okay, thank you. Speaking of hangers, we've got a question here. Why can't hangers be recycled at the MRF? And where can they be recycled?
So I'll start to answer that. Everybody knows that there are metal hangers and plastic hangers for clothing. The metal hangers, although they are recyclable, they are not recyclable with our equipment because they're made out of wire. And what that tends to do is it tends to bind up inside the equipment, like the slide that was shown where the stars are full of plastic. It will do the same thing with the metal hangers, and they prevent the equipment from being able to separate the recycling. They can definitely be recycled though. You could take them to there's public drop-off areas that are available. You can take them to an actual metal recycler. Those are definitely 2 options that are available. As far as the plastic hangers that go, again, they are recyclable, but not with the equipment that we have. At that time, if they were to come into the stream, we would have to pull them off and put them into the rigid plastics. So again, best case scenario is to take them to a public drop-off or a specific recycler that would take plastic hangers.
Yep. And again, what we're selling from the MRF is a steel can bale. So that commodity specification is specific to really your steel food cans. What the metal recycling at the drop-off facility or the metal recycler will do, will split those hangers out and put them into an appropriate other category so that the buyers that process that then know what they're buying. So, what we're selling is really that one type of bale that meets those steel can standards.
I actually had my closets redone recently, and I had all these metal hangers left. It turns out my dry cleaner will take them back. I ripped all the, sometimes they have like a little paper envelope on the outside that has the name of the dry cleaner. So I ripped all those off because some of them were ancient. but they took them all back and they're reusing them. So some will do that. And now I have at home, most of my clothes are on the plastic ones that are more difficult to recycle, and I hang on to them. Okay, we have some more questions here. What did you do with all of the baled paper in 2018 and 2019 when the market price went so far down to zero? They said $0 per ton.
Yep, we were able to move it. So we continued moving it. We continued recycling it. It just, the county was able to support that with additional funding for the facility to, keep us operating, but we were able to keep that moving and keep it recycling. It was certainly a priority for the county, and we did not, when those prices were so low, we were still able to find homes for the material. We just weren't able to receive payment for that material.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think one thing people don't take into account about recycling is that the value isn't simply how much you can get for them in the market for these bales. It's the fact that you're diverting it from the landfill. Everything that goes to the landfill costs. So you're actually reducing the costs to the county. Of course, the best way of doing this is to reduce first and use less. And recycle only what we need to recycle. Okay, we have another question. Are juice boxes recyclable, from Alex? Juice boxes, anybody?
Yes, the juice boxes are recyclable.
Okay, and
Please remove the plastic straw, though.
not the plastic straw, right?
The straw, yes.
Right. So everyone knows plastic straws and plastic cutlery, I'm sure everyone will tell you, are not recyclable. So don't put them in. Okay, here from Carrie Hesley. In my county, Frederick County, they won't recycle clamshell containers, no matter what type of material it's made of. Is this the same in Prince George's County? Will you recycle clamshells? Like, these are the hinged containers that food comes in. Who wants to take that one? Sean?
I'll start with it. The answer to that is recycling has to do a lot of time with geography, as where you are, what your recycler or vendor takes from your recycling stream. We do accept the clamshell containers here in our stream, but it may be that in Frederick, the way and the broker that buys or the commodity buyer may not accept them. And that could be why that it's not acceptable in your stream.
But in the Murph and Prince George's, you do accept them, is that correct? Yeah. Okay, good. Is your Stephen John from New Carrollton asked, is the Murph making any net revenue?
Currently at the time, we are not.
Okay, this is from Councilman Rodney Streeter. Thank you again for coming, Councilman. Do you have any particular ideas or needs, legislative needs, any kind of solution that he can help with in terms of legislation? The three of you.
Yes, we do, and I would definitely need to talk offline in terms of some of the things that would be helpful.
Okay, anybody else? Since I have the floor, let me just also say to Councilman Streeter that Montgomery County has just banned all number 6 plastic, which you guys do not accept. Number 6 is styrofoam, but it's also rigid plastic. So they have now, the solo cups and all of that they can't recycle, they've now just recently banned it's rigid polystyrene number 6 food containers. So that's something that we could consider. All right, let's see. Where am I? Eric, how clean is clean? For example, do plastic peanut butter jars need to be spotless? Are pizza boxes with a few spots of grease or cheese acceptable? Sean?
That is a pretty good question. So how clean is clean? Rinsed is best case scenario. Try to get all of the material out of, or whatever food product is in it, out. I understand that peanut butter jar, right? You obviously can't get it 100% clean. No, we do not expect you to put it in your dishwasher, although we do have some customers that do that. But as clean as possible is ideal. It just helps us in the long run with being able to recycle it. It helps in the summertime because everybody knows what happens in the summertime when your recycling sits out in the sun. And what was the other part of the question?
What about pizza boxes with a few spots of grease or cheese? Are those acceptable?
So pizza boxes, it would definitely be beneficial if, for example, you got a pizza box and there was any kind of grease or cheese on it, to tear that part off and put that in your trash can, and we would take the part that is uncontaminated with the grease or cheese.
So, one of the real goals about cleaning your plastic is to protect the paper in a single stream system, because paper can't be washed. And from start to finish, when you bale the paper, the fiber to process in the mill, in some cases it can be several weeks by the time that material moves from one place to another. So you can imagine you take 1,200, 1,500 pound bale of material that has contamination from food in it, and several weeks later, that's not a pleasant experience. So, we'd rather see people throw out the bottom of a pizza container that has contamination in it than put that through in the hopes and then have that whole bale end up not being processed at the facility.
Yeah, thank you for making that point. An anonymous question here: where can styrofoam be recycled in Prince George's County?
It cannot be recycled here in Prince George's County since the ban. There's no place styrofoam can be recycled.
Right. I would add that there is a drop-off in Crofton in Anne Arundel County, just outside the county line. The Expanded Polystyrene Alliance has huge bins in the back where your block styrofoam from packaging can be dropped. They claim that they take food containers, but of course we don't have those in Prince George's County anymore, styrofoam food containers, and they are very contaminated. But if you have, during this holiday, if you're getting big appliances with these big blocks of styrofoam, please do avail yourself. It's off of Route 3, next to the post office in Crofton. I can send out that information separately. There's also a request from another anonymous attendee. Could you please maintain up-to-date list of sites that recycle equipment that's not recyclable at the MRF? Desmond, is that on the website for the county?
It's currently on the website, yes, it is.
Okay, all right. That's good. Okay, Janet Ginzel says, the Brown Station Road facility will not take my dead microwave oven. Do you know where I could take it to be either recycled or repaired?
Unfortunately, we don't have a recycling program for microwaves. That would have to go to the trash short of being repaired. It's not accepted in our electronics program. It's not a part of our electronics recycling program here in Prince George's County. It would have to go to the trash or otherwise be repaired.
Okay, let's see. We have from Holly Simons, It seems that there's strong demand for recyclable products. Thinking about the instructions to reduce, reuse, recycle, is it still important to reduce or reuse materials before defaulting to recycling or disposal? From the Sierra Club, an emphatic yes, it's still very important to reduce. What do the three of you have to say?
Absolutely.
Yes. From a zero waste standpoint, it is reduce as much as possible, reuse, and then the alternative would be to recycle.
Right, it's the last resort, the recycling, reduce and reuse first.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let me see. If you had, okay, an anonymous attendee, if you had your druthers, would you institute a dual stream recycling instead of single stream? I guess maybe you could say something more about the advantages of single versus dual stream, pros and cons of each.
Here within the county, we chose several years ago to go single stream, and we're quite pleased with it. It's had many advantages here for our Prince George's County residents, ease and convenience, and our recycling rate has increased as a result of it. So I don't see the county reverting back to dual stream.
And what were the advantages of dual stream?
Dual stream is sorting the items separately. Some would argue that it's a cleaner stream, but we process our material at some of the same places as dual stream, and don't know if that's been proven.
Melissa, is there, following up on this question, is there a difference in the price you get for paper and cardboard if that's separated from the rest of the recyclables? I mean, do you see between dual stream and single stream facilities differences in the price you get for those bales?
Things are variable between all MRFs. So, you know, it's not something that I'm really ready or prepared to comment on industry-wide. There are costs and benefits to each one of them. You know, if you're doing a dual stream collection, you're either purchasing all new collection trucks or you're doing twice as many routes. You know, so there's costs and benefits, and it's really most recycling is a really critical part of an integrated solid waste management strategy. So the whole thing has to be evaluated from top to bottom, and you know, all of the positives and negatives, which the county has done and settled on single stream is the best option for Prince George's County.
Okay, we have a question from Eric. We're nearing the end here. We don't have many questions left. We had some foreign plastic bottles that don't have a number on them. Should those be put in the recycling bin?
They should not here in Prince George's County, only if they have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 5, or 7.
And so the optical sorter, and my understanding, the optical sorter is on its way, right? It's not there yet. I mean, would an optical sorter be able to figure that out without a number on it? When the optical sorter, it's been delayed.
It would be able to identify, Martha. Yes, it would.
Okay. When do you all expect that the COVID epidemic has slowed down transatlantic transportation? And I understand that something's coming from Germany, the optical sorter.
Our anticipated time of arrival, Martha, is early March of 2021.
Okay.
They're going to start the installation. If nothing, goes, that's not delayed.
Okay. Well, let's see. Yeah, Janet Gingold wants to know how the optical sorter actually works, how it distinguishes between the different types of plastic. Is there someone who can answer that question?
I can answer that question. So it uses several things. Predominantly, it uses light and a video camera to look at the shapes of the object. It also uses infrared or near infrared light and a camera that specifically picks that up to help identify the plastics. And as it goes across the belt and it gets to the end, that's where it makes the choice between keep it or reject it, and reject it to move on to another machine, or reject it as a contaminated and it goes into the residue. With that being said, it uses a computer program to help recognize the shapes of the materials, because even if a bottle is flat, for example, a PET bottle, even if a PET bottle is flat, it still has the bottle type shape to it as it would be compressed flat. The other plastics, the same thing, they still keep a generalized shape. And that, so it uses the video camera and the regular light that you and I can see to do that. It also, again, uses infrared light or near infrared light to help distinguish the other types of plastics, because they look different under that kind of illumination, and the computer decides what it is.
Janet had a follow-up question here. Some food is packaged in black plastic trays with plastic film that's adhered to the tray. Can those black plastic trays be recycled if there's a little film that's still stuck on the tray?
Yeah, the small amount of film is not a problem.
Okay, and will the black plastic be sortable with the new optical sorter?
So as long as it is a numbered plastic, as Desmond had stated earlier, it will be separate, yes.
Okay. Okay, great. So I'm going to go for the last question because we're up at about 1 hour into this. And let me just get this last question. Glass bottles are only recycled into asphalt and cover for landfill. Is that correct? Are there places that actually do recycle glass into glass bottles?
So that is not the only thing that glass is turned into. Glass is used for many things. Road bedding, additives in asphalt, reinforcement in fiberglass products, insulation in your house, siding in your house, roofing shingles in your house. It's also turned back into glass bottles. Best case scenario is for clear glass that doesn't have any dye in it or any minerals to make it colored, that can be changed into anything. Whereas, for example, green glass could stay green, put back into a recycled product, or turn to a darker color by adding a different mineral. So glass is turned back into several products, not just necessarily, asphalt bedding or asphalt additive or cover for the landfill.
In the Prince George's MRF, this glass is broken up and all the different colors are mixed. So does that end up being in a new bottle?
No, the glass that comes from our facility is used for beneficial cover at the landfill.
Okay, okay. How would that change if we had a beverage container deposit program? How would that change what you see at the MRF?
That would be a Desmond question.
I'm not asking you whether you're in favor or not. I'm just wondering, I mean, when you think about the glass bottles, wouldn't that remove a lot of glass from your stream?
It would. Yes, it would, Martha.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, we've gone up to about an hour from when we started, and I think it's a good time to break. I want to thank all of you, all three speakers. Thank you so much. This is our first attempt at a virtual tour, and it's a great success. So thank you, and thanks to all the people who've come for the great questions. If you have any follow-up questions, you can send them directly to, I think Desmond's email was there on the screen, but you can also send them to me and I'll forward it to them. And we look forward to seeing you sometime next year, I hope in person. But in the meantime, here we are, and thanks again, and have a happy holiday.
Thank you all. Happy holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.